Hanna Institute.
Thank you so much. Thank you, everybody. I am so inspired by what I've heard today. Like, it's like taking me a minute to catch my breath. I'm really taken away. I've taken lots of notes to share out with my colleagues and my team. But yes, my name's Erin Hawkins. I'm the co-director at the Hanna Institute, and I'm really grateful to be here with all of you today. Also online are just a few of my incredible team members. I have my fellow co-director, Nick Dalton, our community engagement research coordinator, Richard De Leon, our interim chief development officer, Marissa Binder, and our PR guru, Kelly Exner. And I also want to acknowledge a few of our community-based partners, some of who are themselves ACEs Aware Grantees from our Sonoma County community. So if I could get the next slide, please. So some of those partners are Dovetail Learning, Santa Rosa Community Health, the Redwood Community Health Coalition, and St. Joseph Health. And I also need to acknowledge the space that I'm coming to all of you on. The space I'm on right now, it's occupied traditional homelands of the Coast Miwok. And today in Sonoma County and in surrounding areas, they're still home to many Indigenous people, some of whom are our friends and our neighbors and our partners, and who continue to face obstacles that were placed there by colonialism, by forced assimilation, by environmental racism. And I, along with the rest of my team, would like to offer our respect to the Indigenous people on this land that we occupy today. We are humbled to have the opportunity to facilitate this presentation on this land, but we also acknowledge that gratitude and humility aren't enough. So we are committed to continuing to working together to mend and take care of this land we're on. I also want to share a bit about who we are, as well as where we're coming from. So as I said, I'm the co-director of the Hanna Institute at the Hanna Boyce Center, but today I'm very much representing a larger collaborative that we established thanks to the ACEs Aware grant support. With our funding, we brought together partners from across the North Bay to establish Northern California ACEs Aware, a network of community leaders in health and education and trauma-informed care. We came together, we meet together regularly, we design together in order to leverage our partnerships with ACEs Aware, to share our expertise and our commitment, our funding, to align our outreach and education efforts, and to move all of our arrows in the same direction in order to build awareness of and screening for adverse childhood experiences. And ultimately, our ultimate goal is to improve the lives of kids and adults and build a healthy community here in the North Bay. And I'll be frank, the timing for our community couldn't have been better. I'm doing this presentation from my home in Santa Rosa. And over the past 4 years, I've had to pack up my kids and my car and evacuate 3 times for days at a time. And every day when I drive into work, I drive down roads of burned down neighborhoods. And so these 4 years of devastating wildfires, of floods, of rolling blackouts, of high winds, combined with the existing underlying continued racial and social injustice and the pandemic and shelter in place, our community has experienced a lot, and we've learned a lot. ACEs, it's not a new concept in our areas as it may be in other communities. So the silver lining of this location that we have and the events that we've experienced is that folks of all walks of life, they're a lot more willing to talk about adversity, to talk about trauma and stress. And our schools and our healthcare providers and our social service agencies have had a pretty decent amount of exposure to some of the basic concepts, and they've had some time to adopt some of them simply because our community needed it. And even aside from the natural disasters and the epidemics, the ACEs data in our community prior to that, with our rates just sitting above the state average over the past few years, that has also contributed to this momentum that's existed to educate and intervene and interrupt that we have had the opportunity to build upon. So this funding and support, what it's really done has given us a chance to capture the knowledge that these experiences we've had here, to capture them and share them out and share them widely in really interesting and exciting ways that I'm super excited to talk about. And that's what I'm looking forward to sharing with all of you today. If I could have my next slide, please. Thank you. As a provider engagement grant, both for the care and the activities, we've been able to really reach out far and wide, farther than we've ever expected to share. Not only in the 4-county Sonoma, Marin, Napa, and Yolo area, but we've had folks as far away as Ottawa, Canada, and in the UK. That's the silver lining, I think, of being digital, as some of my previous grantee brethren shared. Our limitations were really lifted by doing this work digitally. So you can see on this slide a list of some of the engagement activity topics we've been offering and the reach that we've had in terms just of live participation. And I should add that these numbers are just a bit dated. Since we submitted our slide deck, we've hosted a maternal mental health focused event, which included about 148 attendees. So we're just about to hit the 500 person mark in terms of engagement through our live activities. And we've really leaned into pushing the envelope of getting creative, especially in this digital space we've all been limited to with this funding. And we've been really excited about it. So we've hosted, with these facilitated learning sessions, we've used different times. We've done weekdays, we've done weekends, mornings, afternoons. We've tried big 4-hour chunks. We've done, 1-hour facilitated sessions. We have an asynchronous learning opportunity coming up soon. We've made them very interactive. We've done skill practice, dialogue and connection with other participants, group discussions, case studies. We've really, really tried to make it engaging. We've tried to live up to the engagement portion of this grant. We've been able to offer free CEUs and certificates of completion. We're holding live Q&A sessions with all of our facilitators. It's offering a space not only for them to share more, but also for the participants to mine the collective knowledge among them and share out. We've done blogs and flashcards, which I'll talk about a little bit more in just a second. And as always, it's been a chance to continuously refer back to the broader ACEs Aware initiative and the multitude of resources you have offered. And I want to share a little more detail about how we've done this engagement to outreach for these activities, because that's been a really valuable learning opportunity for us. If I could have the next slide, please. So as a provider engagement grant recipient, we've hosted TIC learning events, and I'll use that as those events as an example here. On the screen, you can see almost a calendar or a sequence of outreach that we did on social media. We started with a launch of social media announcements that also aligned with email outreach we did, with mailing lists that we created with the help of our Northern California ACEs Aware partners through PACE's connection and just by digging online for emails and names. And this event was hosted through our network of care grants, so we could reach out really far and wide in terms of agency type to healthcare and Medi-Cal providers, of course, but also to schools and nonprofits, social service providers, government, religious organizations. We launched the information. We posted regular announcements to generate excitement and drive up registration. We created these really fun, short introductory videos that we sent to registrants for events to help them prep and get ready and know what to expect. And then immediately after an event was held, literally within 24 hours, we put out more social media posts. We sent out thank you emails and certifications. And then we reached out to participants to collect their quotes. And it was also an opportunity to share information about future events, about learning events coming from ACEs Aware from the state, and other related opportunities and resources. And we timed it, really intentionally with some of the other engagement mediums that we created that I'll talk about in just a second. Really, what we were seeking to do was to maintain a steady rhythm of engagement and sharing and building and connecting with our audience. Next slide, please. So the engagement work we did was really deeply tied to our communication efforts. And I just want to say again how the grant gave us an opportunity to be really creative with our communications and our outreach. This included developing a really beautiful website, which you can see here on this slide, the shot of the homepage in front of you with the image of the girl in the wine-colored shirt and the words whole care, whole healing. And we worked with a small local studio agency called Good Good, who took the branding guidelines of ACEs Aware, and they sat with members of our community and our NorCal ACEs Aware group to just give it a little bit of that North Bay flavor to ensure that it was available in English and Spanish. And what went on this website was really great stuff. There was a combination of shared information, of pushing folks over to the ACEs Aware website, to the attestation testing, serving really as a conduit to drive traffic to the state, but also to create and share out our own content. So, as I shared in the beginning, it was mining our local knowledge and perspectives, and to do it in ways that acknowledge all the different ways that we learn and how people prefer to engage. So in addition to the live learning events and the asynchronous learning activities, Kelly, our guru, came up with a really brilliant concept called a flashcast, which is like a podcast, but shorter. It's a bite-sized opportunity to dive a little bit deeper in a particular topic or on a particular population or skill, something that you could, listen to on your drive home or while you're folding laundry or riding the bus. We wanted to make it accessible in all sorts of different ways. We created blog posts on a whole range of topics. We shared resources and connections. We also work with our partners to create a flyer that we distributed to Medi-Cal providers and others along our network of care who have still been able to work in person. And we also generated radio ads in English and in Spanish to go out across the North Bay that were targeting 3 different audiences: Medi-Cal providers, network of care agencies, and the general population. And the general population outreach was something we felt really strongly about engaging with in our communications work. We wanted to just really help prepare parents and caregivers in particular who may be, coming up on a well child visit and might experience their very first Pearl screening. We wanted to use those radio ads to help introduce the concept so they didn't feel like it was coming out of left field for them. Next slide, please. So how are we doing? I've pulled out 2 quotes from participants in our TIC learning events, and I chose these quotes specifically to offer my gratitude again for this grant, and explicitly for the change, the request that was made after the first RFP went out to really highlight how we would address race-based traumatic stress and COVID in light of the disparities that COVID had surfaced, and also again because of the community organizing that was occurring in response to George Floyd's murder. We were really grateful for that call and for that space that was made to us to let us deep dive in that area. And even though we know that race-based traumatic stress, it's not a big ACE, it's an associated risk factor, that there's compelling evidence for the toxic stress response it generates. It hasn't been fully demonstrated yet. Nonetheless, the fact that you made that call to action is really powerful. And the flexibility was there, so we ran with it. And we worked very closely with Dr. Daniela Dominguez, who's our director of research here at Hanna. She's also a psychologist at USF and a researcher and founder of On the Margins LLC. And we sat with her and our content and our ideas, and we turned things over and reframed and reconsidered. We connected her with some of our subcontractors on these engagement events. So for example, she worked with one of our presenters, Allison Murphy, who uses the ACEs questionnaire in her work as a therapist treating perinatal mood disorders, to talk about implicit bias and the perinatal experience and trauma that is experienced by a lot of BIPOC women and their non-birthing partners. And the learning has been extraordinarily profound for all of us. And it's not something nonprofits often get the opportunity to do, to listen and to think and to learn and to change. We're always we're busy delivering, meeting that grant deadline, getting that program out. You gave us the space, and it means a lot to us and to our community. And I want to thank you for that. So, I'm keeping it short and sweet today. That's all I've got. That you can go ahead and click on the next slide, but I welcome any questions that you may have.
Thank you so much, Erin. Dr. Burke-Harris.
Yeah, I've told the team at Aurora over and over again that these grantee spotlight events are by far and away the highlight of my day, week, month, you name it. It's really, really powerful to hear how you all have been, just everything that you've been doing on the ground. And it, of course, makes me feel good to hopefully feel like we're putting a little wind in your sails as you're doing this extraordinary work. So one question that I have is, in terms, what has the response been from the outreach in terms of the provider outreach, the general population outreach? I'm particularly curious about that. How has that been?
It's been big. For example, we originally only planned on hosting one trauma-informed care 101 event. And we ended up hosting 3 of them because we had so many people sign up. And we wanted to capitalize on that. Our social media work and outreach, we just got some of our latest data in, and we got 1,500 page views in 1 month. So these are big numbers for us. We're also, being very consistent in trying to leverage our partnerships with other agencies, with those other grant recipients in the community, to use their mailing lists and their networks to share the word and get it out. And it's been amazing.
Oh, that's great. That's great. I had another question right off the top of my head, but it just escaped me. Darn it, I hate it when that happens.
All right.
So I love this. Can I ask about this? Oh, I remember one of the, have you, I don't know, this is kind of a question for Jen Ryan, but have all of our grantees been connected with Number Story and the work that they're doing? So that's great, because it seems like there's a big opportunity for a bi-directional relationship of the ACEs Aware Grantees informing Number Story, and Number Story informing our grantees and resources and that kind of stuff. So
it's funny you say that, because I just had a meeting with them yesterday.
Oh, so, no way. Oh, awesome. Fantastic.
It's been connecting, so it's really great.
Oh, that's fabulous. That's great. I love the flashcasts. How long do they last? Like how much time do they take?
You don't get any more than 15 minutes.
Wow, that's awesome. That's like on your way to pick up the kids, right? Like wow. Okay, that's phenomenal. So I will ask the same question that I asked previously, which is, other than more money, which is always a resource, what would be most helpful to you in terms of helping to reduce obstacles, to catalyze the work, to move things forward?
I was pondering that because I thought you might ask that as a question to all of us. I'm really glad that the secondary campaign that you're doing with the general population is happening, right? Because we have a bit of a captured audience when we're working with agencies for whom it might be mandated to attend this, or they're doing it all together in a conference room now. But for the general population, for for the parent who's going to be bringing their child in, for the senior citizen who maybe has never talked about any of this in their entire life, doing that kind of outreach is so important. You know,
Yeah.
on the maternal mental health event that we had a woman attend here in Sonoma County who works who's an in-care home provider for a senior service center. And she said to us, I have a woman that I'm caring for who's never talked about the abuse that she experienced from her father as a child 85 years ago. And it's starting to come up as her dementia sets in. And I do not know what to do. How do I don't even, what is this? What do I do? And we had, you know, one of the gentlemen who joined us from Ottawa, Canada, was a deli clerk. And we said, why are you here? And he said, I see a lot of trauma at my sandwich counter.
Oh my God.
Right? So the more we can keep hitting it from all angles with our general population, I shouldn't use hitting, it's a terrible analogy. The more
I get it. Listen. Yeah.
Would be amazing.
Yeah. Yeah. That's powerful. I completely agree with you. I think one of the things that I want to say, and this was a fairly intentional strategy, but it's very, very difficult to do, and it's even more difficult to do in government, which is that one of the things that we recognized, it was a trade-off. We didn't want to do a public education campaign and then have people go and talk to their doctors and none of the doctors knew what was going on, right? So that was like, yikes. So we launched ACEs Aware in January of 2020 with the thought that, you know, we would give it a certain period of time and then immediately launch a public education and awareness campaign so that people know what to anticipate. But it was it's tricky timing, right? It's tricky. We couldn't do both at once, and it's tricky to figure out how to do that. And so the fact that you all, as part of your grant in your communications efforts, included some resources for the public to facilitate them being able to receive that, right, when they go to the doctor's office, I think is really thoughtful. Very, very, very thoughtful. Wow. I'm just gonna say, oh, you guys don't understand. You guys don't understand. It's just food for my soul. To have the opportunity to see all of you, to hear the work that you are doing, to see how it's impacting the community, to go to your websites and see all of these resources, and to know that here in California, we are building this infrastructure, right? Like we're not just raising awareness, we're training our clinicians. We are creating networks of care. I'm sitting here listening to you guys talk about how this organization and this organization and this organization has a shared vision and shared metrics and accountability, how you're learning from each other, how you're borrowing from each other, how you're connecting, all to support families, to support our communities, and doing it in a way that is so mindful and practicing the self-care to support ourselves as we are in this work and thinking about sustainability. And it just, I just, you know, I will say that this work this past year and a half has been a slog. I'm not gonna lie. It's been really hard. And coming in as California's first Surgeon General, and then having a global pandemic, like the worst public health crisis in a century, hit, and also launching ACEs Aware at the exact same time and trying to move it forward. And I know all of you have dealt with that same drama, like, oh my God, we finally got the funding to do this work, and oh, BT dubs, here's this pandemic and we can't even see each other or meet in person. But you guys, when I see it, when I see you, it's so worth it. It's so worth it. It's so worth it. And I'm so proud of you, and I'm so grateful for you. And you guys just keep doing the work. And as long as, you know, there's breath in my lungs, I will keep pushing and supporting and trying to bring more resources and supporting you guys to do this incredible work. I'm so proud. Thank you. Oh.
Wow. Kind of feels like I should just say thank you and good night. There's no way to top that. Well, I'll just say one thing that you told me one time, Dr. Burke-Harris, which is their success is our success, right? It's one hand washes the other in so many ways. And so I just want to thank all of you. This is just one of the most inspiring part of the work that we're doing. So I can't possibly underscore more what Nadine is saying. So thank you all so much. Have a great rest of your day. This is available, it's recorded. So if you want to share it with those who maybe couldn't join us today, please do. And just keep up the amazing work. Thank you all so much.